Hi guys, it's Les here over in West Yorkshire. Thank you very much indeed for joining me today. I've just been putting this little outfit up that I got yesterday, put it in some kind of order. We've got Will Smith down here being strangled or attacked by this headless man. Anyway, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to open another one of these boxes, and I think I'm going to go for this big one over here. Because I think that this is, as far as I'm aware, as far as I believe anyway, it should be this alien skull inside this box. Now, it's a polystyrene box, and as you can see, it's completely encased in yellow tape. There's been no damage to it. I don't see any evidence that it's been thrown, dropped, crushed or anything. So, fingers crossed, everything's all nice and intact on the inside. So let's just zip it open. Alright guys, so this is the website I purchased the replica skull from, and the brand of it is P-Flame, and it's described as the Predator vs Alien Skull Slide Show Classic Predator Skull Prop. And the price of it, as you can see, is $59.50 including shipping. That equates to something like just over shade over £40. 40 quid in a few pence I think it is. So let's have a look what it says. It says details about it. Look, large and heavy, size 33 by 20 by 22 centimeters, so it's about a foot square ish. Tells you it's very delicate. He also sells lots of other skulls, as you can see, and this is the same guy that I purchased my T-Rex skull from. See the pictures that he's got up. That's what it looks like on there. So let's have a look and see what his homepage is like on his shop. It's called Handiworkshop, and as you can see, he specialises in skulls. Lots and lots of skulls. Saber-toothed tiger and some other bits and pieces. Excellent. So let's get back to the package itself. So I can see that there looks to be a lid there, so if I follow it around there, and across here, more or less anyway, I think. I'm not sure if it's there or not. Good. And that's what we've got on the inside, as you can see. Very good. Looks to be intact anyway. So let's just have a closer look. I'll get the various bits out. Now this is a resin model, and again it came from the same people that did the T-Rex skull. That's one piece. This is a lower jaw. Now this lower jaw has actually got a hole in it. I don't know if you can see that. And I don't hear the piece on the inside. It's not rattling. And it's not in the box. So in other words, it must have been packed like that. Because otherwise it would still be in the box. We've got one of the claw things for its mouth. And another one. And another one. And another one, and one big lump. Polystyrene everywhere. Well, there's nothing else in there, look, that's completely empty, so that little piece is not in there. And that's the main piece of it. I'll zoom into these pieces for you, just so that you can see. Zoom in. It feels quite light. I can feel it's plastic resin, but it feels quite light. Now I have heard people say that there's a funny smell coming off it, but there's no smell on this one. Seems perfectly good. All these are all holes. Very good. So what we've got to do here is put the thing together. I'll show you the bottom jaw. That's the bottom jaw. See that? And that's the hole that's in the bottom jaw. Now that's very, very thin. It's like it's thinner than an eggshell there. But if you can see that, I'll zoom in a bit. See that? They look very, very thin. So that's the jaw, and these are the claw things that comes out of its mouth. Zoom back in again. See that? It's like a claw, and it's got like a square peg at the end for fitting it into the skull. So there's two of those, both the same, and there's two smaller ones. I think the smaller ones go, is it the top jaw? And there's the top ones, and the long ones are the bottom jaw. And it also comes with a stand, as you can see. Obviously it fits on that peg. So let's put this thing together and see what it looks like once it's up, and I'll just zoom back out so we can see more of what's happening. Try it at that. Not too much. Oh, there. Right, so what we're going to do, let's just see how it actually fits together. So that must go under there, like that. Like that. And these, on here we've got the small ones at the top, which is these ones. And they fit into those square pegs. Well, that's the theory anyway. Which way down is this? We're pointing down. Well, not quite fitting in that. Yeah, you see, you can only put this peg in one way because it's not a square peg; it's a rectangular peg, so it'll only go in one way. But the peg is slightly larger than the socket, so we'll have to shave that down a little bit. Let me just try the other one, just in case this side fits. Well, it's a slightly better fit, but it's still not right. What we're going to have to do is use some kind of epoxy. I mean, that's how the teeth go up. We're going to have to use some kind of epoxy, which I just happen to have. So before I go any further, I'm going to try these other teeth in, or fangs, whatever they're called. Now these fit in the bottom jaw, and they face upwards. That's these ones here. Can you see that? These bottom ones, which is this, and these fit in the bottom jaw. Now that's a better fit. That's a better fit. So that's one. Try the other side. Yeah, and that's a good fit. So the bottom jaw ones are a pretty good fit. You know, they're in there like, aren't they? You can see that. So that's not a problem. So I'm going to try this peg and see where that goes. Now that goes on there. Oh, well, that fits nicely on there. That just kind of sits. I mean, I suppose you can glue it on if you want, but it seems to be quite, although it's wobbling, it's quite a long peg, so I don't think that's going to fall off. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get some epoxy and we'll stick these bits and pieces onto its face. Right guys, I'm back. I've got my epoxy resin. Now I'm using the West system and I've got 205 hardener. Just happens to be what I've got. There's other brands, you can get the stuff in a tube and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, that's the epoxy. I've got a bit of filler so that I can turn the epoxy into a paste with the filler. It's just like almost like white dust is that. We've also got some colours, just so I can get a bit of this colour going on, just so it's not bright white. And I think I'm probably going to end up using a little tiny touch of yellow in it, just to take the whiteness off. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to mix the resin. Now this is mixed by weight, and I think it's 6 parts of the resin to 1 part of the hardener by weight. Now I'm going to use some old syringes just for ease of use, and I haven't got a paper cup, Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix it in here. I'm going to mix it in there. So I've got my scales. Get rid of this. Now I've only got a few minutes to work with this material once I've made it, so it's pretty important that we trot on. So I'm going to just zero these scales. Thinking about it, which is there. Put that on. And tear it. Now we'll open the epoxy and I'll just check, make sure it is 6:1. For bonding, 304 filler. Mixing 5 parts. It's 5 parts by weight or volume. So we want 5 millilitres of the resin and 1 millilitre of the hardener. So that's why I said this is a little bit big. So I'm not going to use that. It's far too big. In fact, I'm not going to use the scales either, because it says by volume, doesn't it, as well? So that's what I'm going to do. Get the syringes. I'm going to use this pot, even though it's a bit deep. We'll start with this. So I'm going to just make sure it's still mixed on the inside. I mean, I don't know if there's any settlage goes off. It's quite likely. So I think I'm not shaking it because I don't really want any bubbles in it. Not that it really matters, but it's just a habit. Just in case there's anything stuck to the bottom. So what I want now is, this is awkward to get off, child resistant cap, or less resistant I suppose. Take that out, put it back in there. Right, so I'm going to draw out of this 5 millilitres. It's all I need. Now, you need plenty of ventilation for this because it does stink. And I'm sure it'll be toxic. So that's 5 millilitres of the actual resin itself. I'm going to put that in there. And then I want 1 millilitre of the hardener. Oof, this stinks. There we go, that's 1 millilitre of the hardener. Put that there for a second. And we can now dispatch with these things. Get in there. Get in there. Get rid of that. So, we'll get the paper case that we had, and I'm going to inject the resin at one side, like so, and I'm going to dispose of that syringe, and then I'm going to inject the hardener at the opposite side, like so, and then get rid of that, and I'm going to put a tiny amount of this yellow in. And I've got a paper clip for that, not a paper clip, toothpick, because I think it'll only need a very, very small amount, like so. bit of a mix. And now we're mixing both the colour and the two elements of the resin together until there's no streaks in it. Now at this, it's quite liquid, so it'd not be very good for trying to glue anything because it would just run everywhere. So we've got to make it thick, like a paste. And to do that, we're going to use this filler. And it's like snow, it's like ground up polystyrene or something. It really is, it's just like little fibres. So now I've got that there, I can mix this in to create this paste we were looking for. Just keep mixing. Now then, this is looks a little bit yellow, but it'll be all right. Let me just get some paper to wipe my fingers. Because we can touch that up, of course, afterwards. So right now we've got the epoxy made. It's now starting to cure. So we need to act fairly quickly. And we get a little blob of this material and we stick it into the hole in there like that. Alright, and do the same at the other side. It's only a small amount. I mean, I've made way more than I need. It's just very difficult to measure tiny amounts, you know. And all I'm doing is filling them holes where these pegs are going to go. And if a little bit squashes out, it doesn't matter. We can wipe that off and deal with that. Right, I think that'll do for them. Right, so it was the which teeth went in the top. It was the small ones. So we can get these pegs now and put them into the sockets like that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this another toothpick just to push the resin all around the fang that we've just inserted. I'm making like a little seal around it, if you like. And don't forget, we're going to be painting over these yellow bits that we've just done, so it won't be visible. And because it's got such an uneven surface anyway, once it's painted you'll not notice it. So I think that'll do for that. Sadly my fingers are giving way. A bit more around that side. I mean, the colour of this skull is a kind of an ivory colour with black or dark brown rubbed into it to give the impression of some antiquity. But I may very well change the colour of it and make it more naturalistic. Right, so I'm now inserting the second of these pegs, which goes there, like so. I think. Yeah, more or less. More or less, right. Look. So I'll now fill around it again with this more of this putty material. think this was a bad choice of implement for me, is this tiny little toothpick. So again, what I'm doing here is I'm just bridging the gap between the thing we've just inserted and the body itself, the socket. I'll come around and wipe it off if you want. Any excess. The important thing is that you're trying to fill the gap. Perfect, is that. Now they're at slightly different angles as those teeth, but it doesn't bother me. I think that's probably naturalistic anyway. But that's the way they fit, so that's where they're staying. So the next ones we can do is the ones on the bottom jaw, which are the big ones, isn't it? So we'll do the same process again. I'm going to fill these sockets with this plastic, with this resin. Excellent is this. Polystyrene. Okay. So that's that one filled. Now these go up as well, don't they? Yeah. So that's one inserted. I'll wipe off this excess. Like that. Just hold it for a sec. And then we can insert the other one. Because if you've got a little Dremel tool, you can also come round afterwards and Dremel some of any excess away if you want. Right, so that's that. And that's that one, so I'll wipe away this excess. Now what I'm going to have to do is leave these a while to set. I have to give them an hour or so. I think it sets within 20 minutes, but it sets solid in several hours. So I'll leave these here resting, like so, and I shall be back shortly. Right then, so several hours have now passed since we applied and glued all these various bits together. The lower jaw is now in position in the same way as we did with the teeth. Well, I suppose these are teeth, I'm not too sure. So that's what we've now got. Everything is now nice and rigid. Now, there was a hole in one of the jaws, if you remember. Let me zoom in. Zoom in for you. Can you remember? There was a hole there. So what I've actually done is I've filled it with some of the resin. So at least when we paint it, it's not going to be a visible hole anymore. But as you can see, the colour of the resin that I mixed is a little bit overly yellow. Looks a bit septic around them joints. So what we're going to do now, we're going to paint it. Let me just put that down and I'll show you what paints I've got. The paints I'm using for these are just going to be acrylics. And the ones I've got are that one, which is called unbleached titanium. And these are Liquitex acrylics. I've also got one called bronze yellow, see, and the other one I've got is burnt umber. Not much left in that one. So they're the three paints I'm going to be using to cover these joints that we've made. Ooh, zoomed out a bit too much there. There we go. So I've got my little palette. Now I can't find any paintbrushes anywhere, so what I'm going to use a cotton bud, which is going to be perfectly okay. So I'm going to squeeze a little bit of this paint onto my palette, and I'm not going to put them together, these blobs. They're going to be spaced about 1 inch apart, and that's so I can do the mixing rather than it do the mixing. So I think that's enough of that, and I'm going to put a little blob of this bronze like that, and a small blob of this burnt umber. And the burnt umber is for the dark bits on it, and the majority of this skull is the cross between the other two colours. So a tiny blob of that. It will be a tiny blob. I might have to get this out the tube. Oh, I might just get it. I mean, there are other brands of paint, but you can use any brand that you like, but you know, that'll be enough, just. So, them's the colours that I've got. So I'm going to use my Q-tip, or cotton bud as we call them in England. I'll zoom in a little bit for you so that you can see what I'm doing. And it dries pretty quick, does this stuff. Hopefully you can see that. Hope it's in focus for you. So I'm going to get just a little blob of this titanium white, or unbleached titanium. And just for colour purposes, I'm going to try it on there. Can you see that? You see? That's gone. I'm just going to go around with this on all of the visible yellow bits. Like that. I'm dabbing at it rather than dragging it. I hope you can see it. Like this, look. Okay. Show you on this big bit here. You can see that big bit. See, that's a pretty good match, isn't it? That's a pretty good match. So I'm going to continue and go all the way around this, just dabbing this unbleached titanium all over the yellow bits that I've done. I'll show you that big bit in there, look. That's the hole that I filled. So that's much better, isn't it? Yeah, that's the hole now. It's gone now. So that's got to be better than it was before. So I'm going to continue around and then I'll come back and show you what it's like once we've done it all. Right, so I've more or less covered that now, as you can see. All of the, I'll zoom in for you. All of the yellow bits have gone. And it's now looking more or less as it should do, you see. So I'm going to let that dry just for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to just put some of that darker stuff on. Right, so it's been drying for 10 minutes and it's pretty dry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up some of that other colour, the slightly darker colour, which was the bronze yellow, and I'm going to mix it with that ivory colour, with that unbleached titanium. So we've got a little blob on here like that. And all I'm going to do with this, I'm going to go around the joint and I'm just going to dab it with, and it'll create like a mottled effect, like the rest of the skull actually. And that's all I'm trying to do, is it just blend in that seam. You may very well find that you don't need very much. In fact, I haven't hardly touched that and it's gone. Look. You know, just the slightest dab. It's just to break up the edge. A little bit more. See that? Just breaking up that edge. And that's that finished. So let me just put it on this stand. Zoom out now. Right. So that's our model now finished. Absolutely super. So we can stick it on the stand, and I'm not going to glue it on the stand because I want to be able to take it off. You know, show people. So that's our finished item. Now I think that is superb. So how much did I say that will cost? About 40 quid. Absolutely great is that. I'm not too sure about this stand. I mean, I don't mind the design of the stand, but I don't like this orange colour that's painted all over it. It's like It's the only thing that lets down this outfit. I would have preferred it to be just plain. I'll just zoom in so I can show you what I'm on about. You see that silly design? I mean, I think it would have been better if it had just been plain bone coloured. You know, so it matched the rest. Or even black. If it were just black, the stand, and you put that on it, you're going to focus your attention on the skull, aren't you, rather than the stand. Although it does look like a neck, I suppose, so, you know. But it's absolutely superb. The only thing I would suggest to the manufacturer of this is that they should include a small pack of epoxy resin so that people have got the appropriate glue to glue the bits together. It's only a small thing that, I mean, you can obviously buy at most hardware shops. You can also get it all over eBay. But it would be nice if it came with a small pack, enough to do the job. You know, it would cost them less than $1, I would imagine, for a small pack. But it would certainly help, of the appropriate colour as well, so when they stick it in, you haven't got to start painting it. But nevertheless, other than that, I think it's absolutely superb. So thank you very much indeed for that. I hope you have enjoyed this video. This will be going on my shelf of skulls. I've got plenty of skulls, as you know. We've got crocodiles, look. This is a crocodile skull. What else have we got here? We've got a buffalo skull. These are resin replicas, by the way. I haven't been out hunting crocodiles, or indeed people. So we've got plenty of skulls. So for some strange reason I seem to be collecting skulls now, including this magnificent alien. Alien versus Predator. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you've learnt something from it. I hope you decide if you want one of these things. Certainly I'm going to be enjoying mine. So in the meantime, don't forget, subscribe if you've not already subscribed, and you'll get an email as soon as I do a new video, and you can watch it at your leisure. In the meantime, enjoy your bank holiday. See you later.